speaking of advancement, has anybody heard of Colorado cooperatives being used as legal wrappers for DAOs? It's like a thing. DAOs actually are quite big in Colorado, so our next panel is going to be all about Colorado DAOs and the various things that we're doing to make them cool, functional, and legal. Don't stand in front of the speakers, guys. Yeah, come on up. So I'm not going to do introductions. I'm going to let our wonderful moderator, Anjali Young. You can sit there, actually. You should have the solo. Have a seat, guys. Where's James?
Ooh, he's right back there. Let's see if we can get him.
James Young.
James Young.
Get up here, James.
Main stage, James
Get up
Young.
here.
There he is. Do we have a mic for you?
Did you get a mic?
You know, I'll let you use mine. How about that? Just give it back. Okay, guys, Colorado DAOs, let's do it.
All right, welcome everybody. Wow, these lights are bright. Thanks for being here on a Friday night. That's just super awesome that you're here. Today we're going to be talking about Colorado Digital Co-op and using that as a legal wrapper for your DAO. Everybody here has been participating in that in some way or another, and so we're excited to get started. I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves. Let's start with Lacey McDonald.
All right. How's it going? I'm Staff Sergeant Lacey McDonald. I'm with the Big Green DAO. I'm one of the founding members of it. Nice to meet y'all.
My name is Muchnik. I'm a Web3 lawyer located in Denver, Colorado, and a legal steward for Opolis, the Employment Commons, Spork DAO, and Collab.Land.
I'm Anjali Young. I'm the co-founder and chief community officer for Abridged, Inc. We are the makers of Collab.Land, and we just launched a DAO called the Collab.Land Co-op.
Jim, everybody. My name is Willy. I am head of decentralization for the Fox Foundation, which is a not-for-profit org dedicated to supporting Shapeshift DAO and achieving full decentralization, and also a community member with Giveth and ATX DAO and NARS DAO, to name a few.
Hey, I'm Bill Warren. I'm the head of product at Opolis, and also helped with the formation of Spork DAO, and worked on DAO House, which is a popular and awesome DAO management platform. So I'm a big DAO fan.
James Young, co-founder and CEO of Abridged. We launched the Collab.Land co-op recently, and I'm a huge fan of DAOs myself. Co-wrote the white paper for Moloch, and we launched the Moloch DAO at ETH Denver, actually, in 2019. So great to be here.
Woohoo! Awesome. Well, we're just going to get started for everybody, what's your experience with DAOs? Like, can you tell us right now what you're doing in DAOs and maybe a little bit of your experience in DAOs? Let's start with Lacey.
All right. Well, experience with DAOs. It's really been big about community, and that's been central to the Big Green DAO. You know, I believe there's a term called touch the grass. We do really well in IRL, for sure, because we're about food sovereignty and food justice and philanthropy. We're trying to flip it on its head. So Big Green DAO pretty much gives the power to frontline workers in distributing funds and giving them unrestricted funds, which will not add on to the workload. So on top of that, with the ability of using like our token structure, our governance, like we're really decentralizing, you know, the power that is held by a chosen few is distributed among all folks that are a part of the DAO. And we have over 100 nonprofits that work in food justice and food sovereignty.
That's awesome. Touch grass, that's right. We do use that.
So we sort of act as the legal back-end infrastructure for DAOifying and providing a legal wrapper for your DAO. We happen to be huge fans of the Colorado co-op statutes, and I think we're going to be talking a lot about that right today. but I've been a part of Ukraine DAO, which is something that we were talking about backstage, and yeah. So we're kind of the legal back end, and my work with Launch Legal and Jason Weiner PC have put Colorado on the map as the Delaware of co-ops.
Yeah, thanks, Yev. That's right, Ukraine DAO. So, all right for that. How about you, Willy?
So I first dabbled with DAOs ETHDenver 2020, actually, and did a hackathon project for the DAO to save the world. It was called Cause. We got first place, and we took all the ETH we won, and we used that to build what became the new version of Giveth. So meanwhile, I was working at Shapeshift, and I had seen firsthand the power of DAOs and the fact that if you have a great meme, a good mission that other people around the world align with, they can get involved, join the Discord, and coordinate to ship amazing software without any central legal entity or authority. So when Eric Voorhees, founder of Shapeshift, said that we're going to go full DAO, that was like the best day ever for me. I was super excited, jumped out of my chair and screamed, and yeah, helped to kind of set up a lot of the Genesis Shapeshift DAO, and have been involved ever since. And I accepted the role at the foundation because I thought it was a noble mission, and someone needed to basically play that stepping stone as Shapeshift transferred from a centralized organization to a DAO controlled by the community. But it's the last role I will ever have at a corporation. It's all DAOs going forward. I love it, and I used to be a CEO of 2 startups before Shapeshift, and it's a lonely job being a CEO. A lot of pressure. The job never ends. It's just an endless list of stuff to do. You got investors and the team depending on you. And it's a lot of stress, and you feel like you can never take a break. And I much more prefer a DAO where it's a community of leaders and we all share the responsibility. It's a better fit for my lifestyle.
Amen.
So my DAO journey kind of started probably in James's shadow, where I started a consensus spoke back in 2018 that was really focused on political and social action. And when we saw the Moloch DAO come out, we thought like, this could be the future of PACs and nonprofits and just social impact groups, activist groups generally. So we took that code and forked it and played with it. And through my initial startup, Peeps Democracy, really tried a bunch of experiments around social action through DAOs. And then we got into like DeFi and DAOs. And finally I landed at Opolis, where a lot of what I do, in addition to our core product stuff, is think about how we can decentralize a service that's highly regulated, but should ultimately be owned by the users of the product. And so thinking about how to split up governance and make sure people are empowered in the right ways, but also making sure that people with kind of the right information are making the right decisions is something that keeps me really busy and also very excited about the DAO space.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I'm following in your shadow now with Collab.Land and the co-op here and following in the steps of Opolis. So I think it's this kind of give and take. I think that's the beauty of being part of the ecosystem, being able to share and learn together, and we kind of all pull each other up. In 2019, when Moloch DAO started, it really was just to get awareness with ETH2, and now we're all proof of stake, and that's all happened. There was a lot to learn in kind of this first generation of DAO. So I helped with Moloch and helped start Metacartel as well, which uses the same code base, but the kind of social structure was a bit different, and the cause and the purpose of it was different. And now with the Collab.Land co-op, we have to interface with the real world. There are like AWS bills to pay, and we're hopefully going to lean a lot on Opolis in terms of employment. And so there's this interesting kind of evolution that I am going through when it comes to DAOs, where I think with the Collab.Land co-op, what is going to be really critical for us is leadership and being able to surface leaders quickly and crowdsourcing leadership from people that are coming in just from the internet. And I think of my journey in terms of DAOs of like everyone that's highly aligned, it's easy to get them together. and for a common cause and a purpose. But I think that as we move forward from a centralized organization as a bridge to then exiting to community with the Collab.Land co-op, is how do we keep intact informal leadership structures that are more dynamic at play. And so we just crossed, since we launched our token last week, 50,000 people that are in our DAO. And so how do you coordinate that? So it's this being able to surface leadership at scale, I think, is kind of, for me, the next evolution in terms of this experimentation with DAOs.
James, that kind of brings me to this topic, which I was going to bring up a little bit later, but I'm going to bring it up now, which were, what are some unexpected challenges that come up when you're either creating a DAO or once a DAO reaches some level of maturity? How about Lacey?
Well, I could tell, from my experience so far with the Big Green DAO, I think one of our unexpected challenges is, as people who work in the field, how can we make this more practical for us, right, this technology? And how can we integrate the two where it's seamless? So it's like, we already have practice with that, with like your Facebooks and your Twitters and whatnot. Like, how can we really apply it where, our folks that are working in the nonprofit world are able to do the work that they need to, because that's where we want them, right? Changing lives, growing food. And how can we utilize these particular tools to make it easier for them to blend the world of the digital age and the real world? I think that's been something that's been somewhat of a challenge to make it more practical. I think that we've achieved some pretty good goals there, especially when it comes to like the governance stuff and all the input that we get from all the other different organizations that are out here. But for sure, we're definitely working those kinks out. And if anything, we've had a few litmus tests with our DAO, and I can tell you it's been successful. So,
awesome. Bill or Willy? Any unexpected challenge? I mean, I know there are so many unexpected challenges, so pick your favorite.
I think focus is really hard in a DAO, and I don't know if it's unexpected. It might be a little bit expected, but it's definitely something that comes top of mind because you don't have a CEO or a leader anymore, and so it's really up to the community to coordinate. And sometimes when that happens, like, people want to go in a bunch of different directions, but it is so valuable to have like an aligned team rowing in the same direction. And so it's difficult. It takes a lot of communication. It can take longer. And yeah, some stuff we do at like Shapeshift DAO is just going above and beyond. So like, even if you have sub DAOs and we have a product work stream, and the community has delegated authority to that product work stream to prioritize the roadmap and decide what features get built. But the product work stream knows that it's in their best interest and it's worthwhile to go through the process of proposing a roadmap and getting buy-in and getting feedback from the community on if there are other decisions, because just that simple act results in everybody feeling much more aligned once the proposal is passed and they had the chance to give that feedback and other suggestions. So yeah, very difficult to do it without a CEO. There's pros and cons, but there's ways to coordinate and make sure that you still get that really valuable alignment.
Yeah, I'd say like smart contracts are pretty easy. You can do one in like a couple weeks. What's really hard is community governance and community building. We as a species have been working on that for 20, 50,000 years and still haven't figured it out perfectly. So DAOs are really just the next iteration of us as a society, as a people, trying to figure out new ways to coordinate. And that's always going to be like messy and tough.
So when we started Moloch and Metacartel, there isn't this notion of like a tradable token, and that was purposeful in terms of the framework. And when, in the way that the Moloch DAO works is that you have to have someone champion you in to get accepted. So there's this kind of, and it wasn't fully intentional, but in looking back on it now, there is this kind of foundational layer of human relationships and trust, where, you have some DAOs that, just like, okay, we have a token and now come and join our DAO, and that is different. So what is surprising to me, having started with this like human relationship to get into a DAO, and then seeing the ecosystem evolve where, it's more kind of almost like a flash mob coming together and coordinating around an idea, they don't know each other, they don't have those relationships, and what binds them together is an ideal at first, not the relationship. So when launching Collab.Land, we call it a co-op, and we're kind of staying a little bit away from the term DAO because it seems to mean different things to different people. And I think that's the unexpected thing, is that I have my own concept of what a DAO is from my experience, and other people have different ideas. And so I think what's important is like having that intention, a charter, a manifesto, or mandate that kind of, or a constitution that binds and tells everyone what this DAO is about. And so, you know, this is crypto, it moves very fast. Kind of, it reemerged in 2019. 4 years later, we see so much proliferation, so many different varieties of DAOs. So I think what's unexpected is people have their own assumptions of what it is. It's not quite a clean slate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that segues really nicely into why Colorado? Like, we all chose Colorado for our DAO structure. What makes Colorado special? What can we learn about Colorado? It's like for the people in the audience that are learning about what is the Colorado Digital Co-op structure, and if you want to get involved with it, and why would you get involved with it? So I'm going to ask Yev, who's the lawyer for us, the Colorado Co-op, and is amazing.
Thank you. I would say that what makes Colorado really stand apart from other jurisdictions is our very friendly regulators, and we saw Governor Opolis come up on stage yesterday and tout how friendly the state is, and it's true. You know, we accept tax payments in crypto. You know, he launched a campaign selling NFTs for his re-election. So that's really ingrained into the mindset of kind of innovative thinking. And I can tell you that we sat at a roundtable for Governor Opolis for Web3 industry leaders probably 6 months ago, and they're so receptive about what can be done to make the state more progressive and more and bring in kind of the Web3 community here. As far as the LCA statutes, the co-op statutes, we have a particularly good LCA law here that makes DAOs and co-ops fit really well. And I think it's pretty well established that if you have an unwrapped DAO, you will default to a general partnership, and there's a lot of potential liability for DAO members there. So in terms of choosing the right entity structure for wrapping your DAO, co-ops are really, really, really suitable. They're not for everybody, but they really are flexible legal creatures. And Colorado just makes it even more so.
Yeah, so there are a couple of other states that are doing DAO wrappers, DAO entities. Can somebody speak to, and is anyone interested in speaking to why they chose Colorado and why they preferred to Colorado to maybe Wyoming, for example?
I would say we have a bunch of innovators here in Colorado for sure. And I think that especially for people of color in this particular industry, it's extremely important to see representation. And in fact, right here in this crowd right now, we got David and Casey here, pioneers in their own way, and definitely with their expertise, helped assist in building, this DAO here with Big Green. But I also have to say, man, not just here, this particular DAO, the Big Green DAO, isn't just centralized in Colorado, but we have a lot of innovators all over the world when it comes to food sovereignty, and just having that type of community, the wisdom of the crowd, has been extremely important. So, but I would say, because Colorado, this is my home state, that's why it's dope here.
Yeah, I think Colorado cooperatives scale community better than a Wyoming LLC. If I were going to start a venture DAO tomorrow with 25 friends, I'd probably do an LLC. If I wanted to start a DAO that could scale up to 50,000 people, I'd choose a cooperative.
That's right. All right, next question I wanted to ask is,
I'll add something here,
Oh,
too.
yeah,
So I didn't chime in
please.
because Shapeshift is not a Colorado co-op. I think I'm here because Shapeshift used to be headquartered in Colorado when it was a centralized corporation, and we chose to go full DAO with no legal entity. So I think it's good just to paint maybe the whole spectrum for anyone who's listening that Colorado Co-op, I think if we were going to go for one of the wrappers, I think Colorado's, what I've heard, is the best out of all of them, which is awesome, so go Colorado. But it's not the only option, and I think there's just trade-offs to consider. So if you're thinking about starting a DAO, definitely, first of all, talk to a lawyer. I am not a lawyer. Check out the Colorado Co-op, but it is quite possible to do it without any legal entity. And it's important to know what some of the trade-offs are. So like, if you go the no legal entity route, you're giving up the ability to sign contracts and enforce contracts. You can't do that as a DAO without a legal entity. And there's a lot of stuff that comes with that. You can't have bank accounts. That's probably the other big thing. And that's something you guys might need, a bank account, in order for your DAO to achieve its vision. But that's pretty much it. As far as I understand, there's also the liability question and whether you're able to give your contributors protection, which was one of the things that you can give up without a legal entity. It hasn't been enforced yet, but that's what the lawyers I've heard say. Although, we work with Opolis, so at Shapeshift we encourage all of our contributors, especially US contributors, to get their own LLC to provide some layer of protection. And yeah, because we haven't gone the legal entity route, there's a lot of things that Shapeshift DAO can do that it could not do if it did have a legal entity. So those are just some of the trade-offs to keep in mind if you're considering launching your own DAO.
I think that's a great point. And there are different trade-offs, and for us, we have to like touch the real world. We have to have bank accounts. We have to pay bills, things like that. And we chose Colorado because of the precedent and the rich history, I think, and just a lot of it is in the spirit of the law and why the cooperative legal structure exists. And that's what we want to do. We want to build up a community. It was formed before there was anything considered online, but I think the spirit of being a digital cooperative still remains the same. And now we can be based in Colorado, but we can have a worldwide presence.
Yeah, that's right. And we can toss that over to Yev again. But the Colorado co-op structure has been around a lot longer than DAOs have been around.
That's right.
So how were they used before, and what was the kind of first experience of now DAOs using the Colorado co-op?
Yeah, Colorado co-ops have been around for a while, and we've seen everything from, coffee shops, worker co-ops that come together, multi-stakeholder co-ops, a co-op that's similar to an Uber or Lyft, where you're actually rewarding the users of the platform, and they are rewarded in patronage distributions based on their patronage activity. So I think that's pretty grounded in the law that you can have members that are giving something to an organization and taking something out. And you have this kind of beautiful harmony around being structured for those stakeholders, right? That there's governance, there's kind of economic outputs, and it's not just for a top-down kind of shareholder, traditional corporate structure. So you're really rewarding the contributors, and that's kind of one of the biggest overlaps with DAOs, that you're wanting to give voice to your members, you're wanting to reward those that are active, that are participating, that are building, and that's what you can do with a co-op.
Thank you. I don't know how much time we have left, so I'm going to move into some hot take questions, which is, what's your hot take, I'm going to say spicy take for DAOs, for the future of DAOs?
Ooh, futures of the DAO. I guess hot take would be community building. That is going to be that's the cornerstone of the DAO. But how do you empower folks, in whatever your choosing DAO may be? I know in the Big Green DAO, the biggest thing, like I said, has been unrestricted funds to empower folks that are doing the work. And then on top of that, when they become a part of the DAO, they're going to be a part of that structure, that governance structure. So any decisions that are made, everybody has a part in that. So if we want to move together in a different direction, we'll be able to do so if we govern it together. But the biggest thing has always been, participation. The reward is that you have a collection of amazing human beings. I want to give a shout out to the OG6 that's out there probably watching, Wande, Catherine, Ade, Vero, and Miss Diana. Like, you guys have been amazing and helped craft me for sure. And that's just a small contribution of the larger picture with the Big Green DAO. But it's always been around growing food changes lives, and we have a common structure there, a common idea that we follow behind. And all the DAOs that have, all the nonprofits that have joined that, you know, we've definitely been working with folks across the country in real life, which has been extremely beneficial.
That's awesome. And actually, I was on another panel earlier with Willy, and we were talking about purpose and how purpose should always supersede the process. And how that's what humanity needs. That's what all of us need, is a purpose to work around. And so to bring ourselves together. Any hot takes on this side?
Yeah, so a hot take is usually kind of a contradiction, but this is what I think will happen. I think that DAOs are going to be like human-centric. So in the age of, like, we're seeing, you know, GPT-3 come out and AI happening with Facebook, Google, and now OpenAI, I think what will happen, and this is going to be this kind of leverage that will happen slowly and then suddenly, is this connective tissue that's going to be led by AI versus like using on-chain data and selective off-chain, whether it's decentralized IDs and verifiable credentials, so that different DAOs can come together at whatever point in time that in terms of the goal or the event that they want to meet. And corporations will not be able to compete, traditional corporations, because you need on-chain data augmented with like off-chain stuff. So I think AI is going to help bridge that gap in between DAOs and cooperations. And you're going to see this fluidity happening online that I don't think we're really able to understand quite yet.
So you mean like DAOs are going to be able to create partnerships in real time to solve a specific issue,
Yeah.
and be able to coordinate at a faster level and more organic level than corporations would?
Yeah, exactly.
Got it, thanks.
Yeah, so I think, the bear market helped clear out some of this, but there were a lot of fake DAOs out there. Nobody on this stage falls into that category. Not going to name names, but there were a lot of fake DAOs that were actually like 4 guys with a multi-sig raising a bunch of money from people and a limited group making all of the decisions. And I think while those can be, in the short term, very effective and look really successful, that those are the organizations that quickly die. Versus if you have real community, if you take that time to build consensus, build communication, build a sense of shared purpose, you're going to last longer, even if it's messier. And so I think it's going to take a cultural shift for us to move from corporations where things like feel clean and we've got like that person in power that we can either follow or push responsibility onto, to a DAO-centric kind of world where, you've got 2 vectors of responsibility. One as an individual contributor that's important, and one as a community that's really important. And that's very different from how we've operated in the 20th century and 21st century thus far.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point to end on. So I want to thank everybody that's on the panel today. But you heard it from Bill. We're in a cultural shift, and all of us have to be advocates of that cultural shift. So all of us definitely are. And for all of you that are out there that get inspired by the idea of community-controlled governance and DAOs, go out, talk about it, tell people about it. It's going to take all of us. So thank you so much.
Woo, let's DAO it.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thanks,
just
Anjali.
DAO it.
Touch that grass.